All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Bed Tech Show. We're just a few average Joe dads here talking about some tech news that's going on in the world. We're not experts. However, we're super passionate about a lot of things, and we're happy to share our opinions. A lot of what we're going to be going over today, we're going to be talking about Apple's October event that's coming up, as well as their September event that they just had when they released their new iPhones. We're also going to get into Halo Infinite and some of the issues that keep coming up with that. Seems like 343 just keeps screwing up every now and again. As well, we'll probably be talking about Nvidia and some of their newest GPUs that just got released, as well as some big news of EVGA ditching Nvidia, which is kind of their major source of revenue. Pretty interesting there. And pretty much anything else that we want to get started off. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and talk about the Apple iPhone event that we had here in September. There were quite a few new releases for the Apple iPhone event. We got the new iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro, as well as a new Apple Watch Series 8 and the Apple Watch Ultra, and also new AirPods Pro 2. What do you guys kind of think of the new devices that are coming through?
I don't know. I like most of the updates. It seems like things that they don't necessarily make a big fuss about or announce are in those iOS updates, like the recent text edits. And I like that. I feel like they should release that with a new phone, because a lot of the phones year to year, kind of like Apple's done, are usually gradual updates, jumping from 2018 to 2021 is more of a real update of what you expect. But that's how they go. They release them year to year. But I'm not seeing too much that's changed besides perhaps the implementation of the M2 chip in their iPad, and it looks like in the MacBook Pro that's coming.
Actually, I think you make a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Now looking back, I was more excited about like the ability to edit text, the ability to delete text if I wanted to, than I was about this Apple event. I think Apple has become predictable. It's like, oh, new camera, new battery, maybe a bigger screen, but like, I just feel like they're lacking the innovation they had a decade ago, right? When we were in our youth, Apple was always coming out with something new and awesome. And like, that was like the first time I ever saw a touchscreen was with Apple,
I know, just
and
iPod. I mean,
huge innovation. And at first, I was like, iPod, like, I don't really care about music that much to have it like on the device. But now it's like, man, music is so involved in my life, and not just music, but like audiobooks and, podcasts, for instance. Hopefully we become a part of a lot of people's lives, right?
Yes.
But I just underwhelmed. I didn't even watch it. I'm like, I just don't feel like there's going to be anything crazy. I'll just catch the highlights, so yeah, I just felt underwhelmed. I think you make a valid point, Dallin. Like, some of the things in their updates are even better than their release. So I don't know.
This was the first year that I didn't watch the full event. Like, usually every year I've always made time and, pretended to work during that time just to watch the event. Yeah. But this year I was just like, I didn't even really care too much about it. It was really underwhelming.
Yeah. I also think like there's usually a lot of noise around it, like I usually feel like, oh, everyone's like texting like, hey, Apple event's on, like, you guys watch an Apple event, you'll be in meetings and they're like, oh yeah, Apple event, it'll be like mentioned, like there'll be some buzz around it. I didn't hear anything, nothing. It's just like, oh, Apple event, oh, what happened? Like a bigger phone or better battery? It's like, yep, oh, cool.
What I find really interesting,
seems like I'll go
is that the iPhone 14 has the same chip as last year's generation. I've got kind of like two theories on this. Like, one of them, they're trying to save money. We've got the silicone shortage still looming around, and it's probably the easiest for them just to put out a new product and use the previous chip. However, on the other side, Apple's silicone chips and their in their iPhones are so far beyond the competition of like Android that even having a previous generation still blows away the new generation of this year's Android phones. We have Samsung, who's, I would think, usually on the bleeding edge of innovation in the types of features that they have on their phones.
Yeah.
However,
Feature set wise, yeah.
However, their capacity for their chips and to be able to compete with quickness, speed, and efficiency of Apple, it's just not up to that level yet.
Yeah, reliability as well.
I just bought
Yeah.
a Samsung for work after using my iPhone for so long. I'm going back to a Galaxy. I think I haven't had one since like 2015.
Yeah.
And it's not the top of the line. It's probably the iPhone SE of the Galaxies, but
Oh yeah.
it really feels like an old clunker. I feel like I bought, maybe I did, maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but I was really not impressed compared to the iPhone still. I thought I'd heard something about the One Plus being good. Maybe that one is nice. Maybe that's a good Android, but yeah, no, love my Apple.
Yeah, I feel like every time I talk to someone who doesn't have an Apple product in America, it's usually because they have something against Apple, or they like wanted to change and they're like, yeah, it's all right. Like the features are really cool. But I always hear like, if they don't have a bias against Apple, the feedback I always get is like, it's just not like as quick and easy and slick, you know? And that's my experience too, right? I'm always like, man, this is like, sometimes it'll freeze, sometimes it'll like just be delayed, and it's maybe not as intuitive and more prone to bugs and errors. Durability, like for length of time that you're using it, I feel like not up to par with Apple. As much as I rag on Apple for not having innovation like they used to, I do like, I do have a lot of the Apple family in my life, my watch, my AirPods, my phone, because of that UX, that it's just such an easy, fluid experience. It's so reliable. I don't have to worry about anything.
It's super nice. Like if you have something on your iPhone and you want to quickly move over to your iPad, it just seamlessly moves over. But like if you have a Windows machine and you want something off of your iPhone, you have to like start basically all over and go to it from scratch. So, I mean, it's definitely the way they have their ecosystem, I think, is a huge plus, and a lot of what keeps their brand loyalty.
Yeah, it makes them really sticky.
One of the interesting things that I saw come up was there was an interview that Tim Cook had that was a pretty official interview, and the host of the show has an iPhone and asked Tim Cook when they were going to support RSC text messaging.
I know this story. I love it.
And Tim Cook essentially said, your mom just needs to get an iPhone. So, I mean, the host had an iPhone, was just having trouble sending video messages to his mom and wanted a seamless experience. And Tim Cook just said, yeah, get your mom an iPhone.
I have that experience sometimes with people who are not on, like top tier Samsung or Apple, right? It's like my video quality just deteriorates and it takes forever to send, right? Do you think Apple's price point on their products is a barrier of entry to become part of the Apple family? Like, do you think for the common consumer, they truly consider Apple's price point versus like Android's price point when considering phones or watches or smart devices? Or do you think it just doesn't matter? Because I noticed like the phone, the new 14, the price point isn't increased, mainly probably because of the chip situation. But, I noticed that and I was like, oh, it's the same price point. And then talking now, it's like, is that a barrier of entry to become part of the Apple family that people want to, but the cost is too much? Or do you think it just doesn't matter?
With all of the service carriers, I'm with T-Mobile, and I think I've renewed my iPhone a few times with almost a full credit every month. It's not a free phone up front, but if you stick with them, they give you that credit every month that pays for it almost.
Yeah.
with that, I haven't really looked at it. I've been like, oh, $1,000, but it's free if I hang around. So I'm just going to do it. I don't know how closely people look at that. I don't look as close as I used to, just because I'm usually on some sort of plan that's paying for my phone anyways.
I think that Apple does carefully consider their price point, and sometimes they really try to cater to removing that barrier to entry. And then on some of their products, they don't give a duck fart. So for instance, like I think the pricing for their new iPhone 14, I think that's pretty comparable for all the features that you get for that with that phone, and somebody that was just coming into it. I think it's a good price to performance. However, for like their XDR display that was $5,000 for a 6K display, and the stand that they sold separately just took that up, that was $1,000. That's kind of like a blow to everyone. Like, we know that you can't afford this and we're okay with that, and we're just going to do it anyway.
I think there definitely is a different approach to their computer pricing versus their handheld and tech items that they have. They're smaller tech items. I will say though, like I feel as though I find that, Android phones are potentially up to half the cost. To Dallin's point, I think there's so many payment plans and different promotions that I don't think it's truly that big of a barrier, but I wanted to get your opinions on it. There's like certain brands where they charge so much for something that really isn't that valuable, but the brand is so valuable. And so it's immediate status, right? Rolex, Ferrari, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, they can charge an arm and a leg. They charge like $600 for maybe $100 worth of leather. But I felt like Apple tried to do that with their computers. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, you have the $1,000 stand. I don't think you must be filthy rich. I think you're an idiot.
Yes.
Like I don't look at that and think, wow, like status. I look at that and I'm like, man, you just wasted so much money. Whereas if I see someone like Louis Vuitton or like a Gucci, I'm like, okay, wow, you're in debt like significantly, or you actually have a lot of money, like that. I feel like there's a difference there. And I feel like Apple tried to play that status situation, and it, in my opinion, didn't go well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think that it didn't go well with that status symbol, like the original HomePod that they sold for $350. That was just
original home. Is that like Google Home or like
Alexa? So something similar to that. It was their first entry into the smart home speaker market, and they priced it at such a level that it that they had to kill that product. I mean, they killed it just last year.
Yeah. See, for me, like the average consumer, I don't do like the best job of like keeping super up to date with like all the techie, I'm not getting like notifications. I'm the average consumer. I didn't even know what it was. And I know most of Apple products, so I think that just reemphasizes your point, Ethan. They had to kill that thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny like that. The stand for their XDR display is still like a matter of contention in YouTube videos. I was watching a YouTube video from Linus Tech Tips. They were reviewing the new Samsung Odyssey Arc, which is this massive 55-inch gaming monitor.
So sick.
Yeah,
that's actually sick.
I definitely want that, but I can't afford that. Anyway, they were pointing out the stand and how massive it was, and that it took two people just to assemble this monitor and put it together. And as he was holding this stand, he's like, take a look at this, Apple. This comes with the monitor. But they were making
What a job. What a job. I love it. I love that. It's always fun to see.
One of the other things that has kind of come up with the iPhone 14 is their battery replacement. I don't know if any of you had a chance to kind of see the development that has come out of the last year of how they've given the right to repair back to the consumers, and allowing people to perform their own repairs for their phones. It's a bit of controversy on how they've handled it, but them starting to relax a little bit and allowing consumers to repair their phones. What are your guys' thoughts on that right to repair for Apple products now.
I think that's the right thing. Like morally, I think it's the right thing to allow your consumers to repair instead of forcing them to pay for a branded service that you can charge an arm and leg. But it's a monopoly over a service, essentially, right? Wasn't there a lawsuit or wasn't there some litigation that forced Apple to do that? I swear I saw some litigation that said they couldn't monopolize that service. And because there were third parties who were like essentially repairing Apple iPhones, and Apple was going after them and saying, no, you can't do that. You can't work on our products if you're not a licensed Apple service individual, whatever you might want to call it. I could have sworn I saw litigation. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Did you hear about that? Am I off base there?
No,
I swear.
I think you're correct. But I'm not quite certain. I don't know if I read anything about it. Dallin, do you know?
I haven't heard about it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm sure that you take it to one of these, third party repair shops, and Apple ever finds out or gets word of it or has some kind of, booby trap in the phone that when you move something around, they know you've messed with it and it kills your warranty or your Apple Care or something like that. I'm sure they start figuring that out, and they've got your location. They know you're at the third party shop that they know it's down the street. So I wouldn't be surprised if they started figuring out, when these repairs were happening and where they were happening, and then started to go after them. But I like the idea that they let you replace the battery, because that's about the only thing, especially where, sometimes you have 2 or 3 generations where not much changes. And you're like, well, I love my old phone, but the battery's dying out. As long as it's really user friendly and I can just switch it out and I don't have to worry about looking up some complicated YouTube video where I'm moving wires and I'm being really careful not to just snap something, then I think it's a good idea. I think it's nice. And I saw the price points. I guess it's been $70 in the past. Now it's going to be $100. That doesn't change anything for me. I think I'm like, oh, no big deal. That's better than buying $1,000 new iPhone just for the battery.
Yeah, I think that price point for $70 is exceptional. I mean, that's like the lowest I've ever seen any battery replacement come out of Apple before. I mean, generally, they're like $99 or more, and you've got to go take it to the Apple store, and they may or might not even be able to replace it. So having this just to go to that $70 price point, I think that's a huge win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I was actually just going back to what we were talking about. There's a couple articles talking back in 2021 when Apple changed their policy that says this is back in 2021, end of 2021. So it's fairly recent, less than a year ago. Apple announced that the company will soon make parts and repair manuals available to the general public. Apple didn't change the policy out of the goodness of its heart. The announcement follows months of growing pressure from repair activists and regulators, and its timing seems deliberate considering a shareholder resolution environmental advocates filed with the company in September, asking Apple to reevaluate its stance. There was litigation from consumers against Apple to say, hey, we need the rights to repair our product without ruining the warranty on it. We need manuals, etc. So pretty recent.
They said asking in there. Is that like an asking, we're asking you to do this, and it'd be a shame if something happened to you in court? Is that kind of the asking they're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. But I think there was actually some legal filing for it. There was on Bloomberg Law, there was an article about it, but I don't pay for Bloomberg, so I couldn't read all of it. So I'm on The Verge. This comes from The Verge, theverge.com. So if you guys want to, if any of our listeners want to look at it, you can go there, theverge.com, and see it. So, but yeah, from a battery standpoint, I agree with you guys. I think that's a big win.
And, it's pretty sad that Apple always made it so hard for third-party retailers to even repair iPhones. Like anytime that somebody wanted to be an authorized dealer, they had to go through certifications. They had to pay for the equipment to make the repairs. And then anytime that they got those repairs, they would have to send them back to Apple, and so that they couldn't even get reimbursement for the recycling of those repairs, that it was Apple that would get that reimbursement.
Wow.
So
That's where like sometimes I agree with the sentiment, like big evil corporation. You know, I don't usually always think that, or I don't usually think that, but there's definitely times when like corporations are like way too greedy, way too money hungry.
yeah. And I mean, usually myself, I'm pretty money hungry, and I'm all up for that. But I mean, sometimes I think I agree with you, Ben, that companies can take it too far.
Yeah.
And really they're just taking more advantage than just as beyond a business strategic point. It's just taking advantage because they can.
100%. You know, I mean, like, just to wrap up that point, like, the markets will usually reflect whether or not your business strategy is valuable and worth it to the market, right? They're going to buy it or not. They're either going to pay you the price or not. And if you see your stock go down, less sales because of your business decisions and your strategy, that's your fault. But when you have full control of the situation and there's no ability for any like market influence or competitor influence, that's where I'm like, all right, you can't take full control and then make people pay you in order for them to have a functioning service. Like, make them pay you up the yin yang, right? Because it's just unethical. That's why we have laws against that. So,
well, let's change gears here and talk about Halo Infinite and how 343 keeps screwing up. So just recently, Halo Infinite and 343 Industries, they released their roadmap for the upcoming season of Halo Infinite, talking about how local co-op is going to be canceled and how Forge is going to be delayed a little bit into December. Basically, rather than creating more content, they are just adding more skins and more armor, kind of just fixing bugs rather than trying to actually make the game better and playable for the community.
And honestly,
I'm
heated about this because I play Halo quite often. Honestly, I don't even think they're adding a lot of skins, and I don't even think they're doing a lot of repairs. It's so infuriating. The last update we got just made things worse. It's like Warzone all over again, where it's like, okay, there's a bug in Warzone right now, and they're like, oh, we're putting a patch out. It's like, okay, cool, you fixed the last bug, but now there's new bugs. You know, it's just so frustrating. And honestly, I see a lot of content for the Master Chief Collection, their legacy games, almost more than I do for Halo Infinite, which was like supposed to be like the capstone game of the series. You know, like, I think of Obi-Wan Kenobi saying like, you were supposed to be the chosen one, you know, and it's like, no, like, totally ruined it. Like, there's so much hype around this game and so many years of prep. And then now we have so many delays. Anyway, that's my take. I should step down from my soapbox because I'm very heated about this topic, but Dallin, I'll let you go.
Well, I play Halo here and there, but I haven't followed it close enough to know more. I do feel like the canceling the local co-op kind of hits at the roots. Kind of like Halo was that game that I played and always had, you know, the true multiplayer co-op that you play with your friends, whether you hooked up Ethernet cables or you're just, you know, now it's all online. But now when you get the boys together and you want to do some local co-op, or, you know, that's, I don't know, it's becoming more and more individualized. You know, I'm on my own machine and I'm going to complete this on my own, and everybody else just does their own thing too. And I don't know, that doesn't feel like it. The true heart of where Halo started feels like it's dying off.
Yeah, Halo 5 kind of started that. I mean, that was the first game in the series that split screen was not even an option. And it forced people who wanted to play together had to get multiple Xboxes just to play that game together.
Yeah, Ethan, when we were working at the same job, you know, in Logan, my wife was working there too, and her coworkers husband and wife, big gamers. They bought 2 separate Xboxes and 2 separate TVs because they wanted to play the campaign together. And going back to Dallin's point, like my son's getting to the age where he's playing Minecraft and other games, and he's good at like moving around with the 2 analog sticks. And he's played like custom matches of Halo against bots. And I'm like, it would be really cool to play all the Halos with my son. And I can play the older ones, the Master Chief Collection, but not the new one. Can't play the new one with my son. And it's like, okay, I could be really petty and complain about it. And, in hindsight, I have like 4 other games I could play with my son, but it's just the fact that they promised it. And now it's like, we're actually canceling it,
Yeah.
So many promises.
I mean, with this game, like as they were developing it, they said that they made a mistake with Halo 5 and they were going to do local co-op. And then this roadmap comes out and they went back on their promise again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It feels like they're chasing money, almost just like all the other ones, the battle royales that just, they're following the way of what sells, I guess. There's a lot of people out there that just play on their own and don't have, I don't know, real friends. They have online friends that, they live somewhere and they've never met them. And it seems like, maybe I'm assuming, it seems like that's the way that it is going. And they just have more of a base that I guess buys those things and does those things. So they're following the money, which is sad because I don't know, that's not what I like.
Yeah.
I think
they
you're
are
right,
following
Dallin.
the money. Yep.
I mean, a lot of what they've done with Halo Infinite has shown that they really care about their bottom line. I mean, there were a lot of microtransactions in this game, and that seems a lot of that is, probably executives of Microsoft saying, hey, this game needs to make money, and microtransactions is just a quick way of making that happen. And so
yeah,
I think a lot of the pains may be from Microsoft being the parent company of 343 and dictating a lot of how this goes and the leadership over it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And those microtransactions in Halo Infinite, they're not even that good. Like every week they refresh the store. And every week I look at the store, I'm like, this is garbage. Like, I don't want to buy a tank skin. The tank is gray and your skin is off gray, like dirty white. Like, I'm not going to buy a skin that literally look like the default skin. Give me something cool to buy, And then like this, like for example, this week, it's literally the same stuff to buy that they had like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, wait, we've seen this before. Like that's the same pose. That's the same color scheme. Those are the same stickers. I don't even buy stickers anyway, but like, really, you're recycling now? And in the meantime, like 3 weeks ago, I saw Master Chief Collection. They came out with all these cool skins for your different Spartans. Like I don't know if you know the anime Gundam, but those Gundam, like the Gundam style, not Gundam style, like Korea, but Gundam style.
Yeah.
It's so sick, like robots and mecha and all that stuff. They came out with those skins for the Master Chief Collection like less than a month ago. I'm like, where is this in Halo Infinite? I would eat all that up, man. Like I would pay, but again, we just get like half done garbage. Like literally they recycled it, They're like, oh, what do we have for next week? Oh, we don't have anything, boss. Okay, just whatever we had 3 weeks ago, throw it on the store again. Okay. It's like, okay. Yeah, we could tell that it's not a priority.
And I'm just going to make a plug right here for Rocket League. Rocket League makes excellent skins, and every other game should learn from the skins that Rocket League releases. And that's all. We can continue on the Halo path.
No, actually, I want to echo that. I don't play Rocket League very often, but I will say when I do, I follow Rocket League on social media, and when I see their collaborations and their skins and like all the different, like the Astro burners or whatever it is, like the exhaust burner. Those stuff, that stuff's really cool. It is very much like Fortnite, where they get high demand content to be a collaboration with them, and then that sells. Like that's what I want to do. I want to drive the Batmobile and hit a soccer ball. That would be sick.
Yeah.
Halo, it's like,
I'm still waiting for the Tesla skin, the Tesla's car. I don't know why they haven't partnered or done anything, but
oh
anyway,
yeah, dude.
That would be
That's-
too
yeah.
powerful. You know,
It would. Yeah.
You
It's not
just have
going to make
unlimited-
any
you have
kind of
unlimited
engine
boost.
sound. It's just going to be real quiet. It just doesn't, there's nothing exciting there. It's too powerful.
Yeah, too powerful. That would actually
maybe
be
when the
really cool.
Cybertruck comes out, then they might get some Tesla
Yeah.
collaboration skins.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
No, but I definitely agree. Rocket League does have some good skins. I mean, I have the Warthog skin as my character on Rocket League and love roaming around in the Warthog.
The Warthog skin, that's epic. We have the Mario and Luigi themed ones. For our
Oh,
kids.
nice.
They love that.
Oh,
They
awesome.
love that. Yeah. See, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's Dallin's point. It's like they do a really good job. They do a really good job.
Yeah, and I mean, even
Yeah.
Down's point about Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite had that collaboration with John Wick, and they had John Wick's mansion in that. And that was just really cool to be able to go to that place and kind of experience that awesome house. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I would want this house. If I
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Yeah.
So definitely those collaborations. I think they need to come to this. But if you look at the Master Chief collection, it took several years for it to get to where it is now. I mean, when it first came out, it was a rocky game. Servers would always crash. It would really be hard to get into games, and stuff was also half baked. And it wasn't just until about like last year or the year before that it finally felt like the Master Chief collection. So
That's fair.
I'm
That's a
really
fair
hoping
point.
I'm really hoping that Halo Infinite isn't going to be that point where it finally becomes a good game in 6 years. But based on its track record and how it's going now, it might be a couple of years before it finally comes to fruition.
Yeah, true,
Mhm.
true. With that being said, I'll make this small counterpoint. They have had years of development for this game, even delayed it years, right?
Yes, they have.
At least 1 year. They've delayed it at least 1 year after like 3 years, 4 years of development. Then they delayed it a year, and now we're like a year in. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's no excuse for them for sure.
Yeah.
They've had plenty of time, but even still, time doesn't seem to be working for them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this, and maybe this is gonna fuel the fire, even though maybe we're kind of transitioning away from it. But do you think the fact that 343 primarily contracted out work is the root cause of this? Or do you think it's just poor management overall, executing on different decisions? And, I've heard of, segregated groups internally that were battling over what to take priority and how the game would be. What do you think, like, the root cause, if there is one, for the result we have, right?
To answer your question, I would say yes.
All of
yes,
the above.
all of the above. I definitely think that the shift to contract work did have a major impact in it, because you would have temporary employees coming in, learning how the code works, finally getting something in it, and then you'd have another set of temporary employees that would need to spend time to learn the code, learn what nuances somebody else had, and then try and add on to that. And it doesn't make for a conducive environment. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stems from how the leadership was. I mean, now we're seeing a lot of top executives at 343 being shifted around. I mean, we've seen huge people, like the head of 343 is now from the original Bungie era. And I think that's a good direction, but it's kind of too late, in my opinion, for it to salvage the game. But I'm kind of glad that there is this huge shakeup that'll finally give these developers that are staying with 343 some sort of backbone that they can, build upon, and try and make this game better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's fair points.
Dallin, what do you think on that?
I don't know where they went wrong. I'd assume they try to use COVID for their delays, but how much of this work is really affected? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not being fair, but
No, I'm with
I
you on
could
that.
I
I'm
couldn't
with you on
say.
that.
I
Everyone
think
uses that
everybody
as an
jumps on
excuse.
that train. Yeah, they're like, whoa, another year because COVID. So we're like, well, better be good then. And then it's good. It was good, but I don't know about an extra year good. There shouldn't be any bugs by then. Maybe that's a high standard. I don't know.
I agree. There shouldn't have been any bugs. However, I guess it is what it is, and now they've made their choices, and we're stuck with it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yep.
All right. What do you guys want to talk about next?
Let's talk about one more topic, and then I want to bring up a curveball. It'll be a really short topic.
I love curveballs.
It was a statement released by, I want to say Infinity Ward, but I could be wrong. Hold on, I'll find it. But we could talk about Nvidia if you want.
Okay, gotcha. So Nvidia, they just released their new 40 series cards, and I have so many opinions on this. Like the performance that they have with these new cards, especially the 4090, it blows everything out of the water. There is just so much performance packed into these cards. I mean, when the CEO came out on stage and showed a handle of the card and showed it to the audience, it was just this massive thing. It looked like he was trying so hard just to hold it up, like he was struggling. It looks like a 3.5 to 4 slot card, which I mean will be good for airflow and performance, but that is just a massive card.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
What I do think is really interesting is what they did with their 4080, where they have a 16 gig and a 12 gig version. And I think my theory about this is the reason that they have two versions of this is because, one, they wanted to make more money. And so the 12 gigabyte version was supposed to be the 4070, but at the last minute they decided, I want to charge more money for this, so let's call it a 4080.
Yeah,
12 gigabyte version.
Yeah, that's probably it, honestly. Because it's like, why have that differentiation? They were probably able to pump more power out of 4070 12 gig, and so they're like, let's market it as a 4080. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I kind of have to agree with you on this one. It's like, why have that differentiation? Like, what real market demand is that solving, right? It's not. It's just a new offer for options, and they're creating their own market. I feel like if you want something more powerful than a 4070, but you don't quite want the 480 16, then we got a 480 12 gig for you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Because I mean, look at the price jump. Look at the price jump between that 500 to 1200 between 470 and 480.
That is a massive jump.
Yeah.
And I mean, in theory, like when you have these graphics cards, you want to have something at every level that somebody is going to be comfortable with, because you don't really want to alienate somebody. But I mean, with that 4070 to 4080, I mean, that's a huge gap. And like, if somebody's really price conscious about how they're going to be doing their PC build, going with a 480, they're going to have to make a lot of compromises just to be able to fit everything within their price point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%.
What do you guys think about
chime.
the TDP power draw? Oh, Dallin, you had an opinion. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to state that I don't really have an opinion because I've been close to buying either a tower or just a gaming laptop with some nice graphics card in it, but I haven't actually tested one out myself to see, how it compares to the only thing I know, which is my Xbox, and so I have nothing to say here other than I'll have to try out a graphics card one day.
Well, I will say, as recently just building a computer myself and getting into PC gaming more, it is a change of life and like a huge quality of life difference moving from an Xbox to a PC. Not saying that the Xbox is terrible, because I think the new generation of Xboxes are extremely good, especially for their price and the performance that you get out of them. However, going to PC gaming, that gets you into another level of performance where it comes to frame rate and being able to game. Definitely, it doesn't make me a better gamer. I'm still terrible, but my enjoyment of being terrible has increased.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Okay, so you feel like the difference between like the Series X and having a solid, top of the line Nvidia chip is a big difference?
To me, it is. I mean, it gives you a lot more flexibility and a lot more customization of what you can do within the game. You can put in that real-time ray tracing, DLSS, which just makes everything smoother and quicker, and textures just pop out a lot more in game. And if you've got the VRAM to really push that, the more VRAM you have, the more textures and the more frame rates you can get. It makes everything look better and perform better, and you can react a lot quicker to faster action things that go on.
Well, I think it sounds like the fact that you can even tell a difference that's usually the important part. I feel like we talk going back to the iPhone conversation. I think if you went from like an iPhone 8 to an iPhone 11, you didn't tell the person, I don't think they'd notice that it was any faster. I think, but if you can tell, I think that's key. That's really where you get your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
really interesting you say that.
One of the things that I find interesting with these is like the power draw that comes with this. I mean, they showed graphs during their release event here. Like it can go up to like 450 watts power draw at peak performance, which is just an insane amount of power.
Yeah, see, it's hard for me to understand what that is because I don't even know. Like I need relativity to understand what that means.
So from what I understand, because I'm not like a huge expert on this, you've got your power supply that's going to supply power to your entire system. Your CPU is drawing power, your motherboard, your fans, everything's going to be drawing an amount of power from that power supply. When you start to get your CPU under load and at those higher clock frequencies, it's going to need more power to continue to compute at that. So it starts to draw more power. Now we've got these graphics cards that are going to be pulling 450 watts. So you need at least 450 watts plus all of the watts that are going to your CPU and everything else part of your system. And with that, you probably need at least a 1000 watt power supply minimum just to be able to handle that. Because if your system starts drawing more power than your power supply can handle, it's just going to shut off. And because there will be that fail-safe within the power supply that will just cut off power before anything else gets fried. And goes on.
That's crazy.
Gotcha.
Wow. So you have to get a big power block in that tower.
Yeah.
Probably no mini towers you know,
No mini towers. No.
no mini towers of these 4000 series, you know, even probably 3000 series. But
Yeah, because I mean now they're just so big that people that want to do those small form factor builds are going to have a really hard time or not going to be able to do it at all just because of how much cooling these cards need.
yeah, it's so crazy.
So I mean, I think it's really cool that they do have such a generational leap in performance from the 30 series. I mean, it would be enough to justify an upgrade if you had a 30 series card, in my opinion.
Really? You think so?
I think so. I mean, if you really had the ability to utilize all the potential,
All of it?
yeah, it would definitely, I would think it'd be worth the upgrade. I mean, right now I have a 30 series card, and everything that I do with that, I'm not even coming near to utilizing everything for that. And so I'm probably not going to upgrade for this generation just because it has sufficient for my needs and definitely more than what I need at this point.
Yeah.
You still got to figure out how to use what you got.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's kind of how I am too. I mean, I don't have one, but when I saw the 30 series launched, I was like, man, like I don't do any like intense video graphic design, you know? And so it's like, I don't even know if I'd be able to even fully utilize all that capability, you know? So
well, now that we're doing this, we might be able to.
maybe,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I was gonna say, whenever I'm checking out the MacBooks, other laptops, like they're always like, you doing any photo editing? You know, that's always the question they ask you. And I'm like, no. Is there that many people doing photo editing? Why do we always ask this? And but I'm like, you know what seems to overwhelm my system is having a lot of Chrome tabs open. So I just, when I'm at the store, I was at Costco the other day, I went over the MacBooks and just like tabbed open like 20 different Chrome tabs. I'm like, oh, this news site, Facebook, Twitter, and just tried to run played a few YouTube videos, and I was kind of like listening to the fan. So that's how I test out my my speed and performance of my computers. So if anybody needs a review, just let me know, and I'll pop my Chrome tabs up and let you know how something runs.
Yeah, and I think that is like a really good point. I mean, you know, a lot of us, since we're kind of your average consumers here, we're not going in to do serious photo editing or doing serious video editing. And Chrome tabs is definitely what would be a bottleneck in my system too. So, I mean, that's what I look at. If it can have 200 Chrome tabs, we're good. Anything less than that,
there you go. That's how they should measure it.
Yeah,
by Chrome tabs.
Chrome tabs.
That should be a bold bullet point in any kind of release, you know, like on stage in the background, up to 5,000 Chrome tabs, and everyone's gonna be
never close a tab again. Forget bookmarks. You're gonna have that page open always.
That's what I want to see now in these review videos.
Me too.
How many Chrome tabs? We should make a new standard.
Yeah, before it completely shuts down.
Yeah.
You're just spamming the plus button. Plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right, Ben, what's your controversial topic that you have?
All right. So at the beginning of the month, not even the beginning of the month, it was a week. Let's see here, September 13th. So a little over a week ago. Okay. I'm on social media a lot. So I follow like some streamers, and a lot of them are Call of Duty partners. Anyway, Call of Duty released a new code of conduct. Okay. And the first, this is Call of Duty, notorious for their lobbies. Okay. Call of Duty's first pillar of their code of conduct: treat everyone with respect. Okay, this is what it says. It says, we do not tolerate bullying or harassment, including derogatory comments based on race, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, age, culture, faith, mental or physical abilities, or country of origin. All members of our community should be treated with dignity and respect. It's like, I don't even know if the person who wrote this has ever played in a Call of Duty lobby. Like, it's just so funny to me to see that. And by the way, I was reading the comments the day they released it, and everyone was ripping this apart. This post no longer allows comments, and all the comments are gone. So you can't even view the comments. So what are your thoughts on this type of code of conduct that Call of Duty has released? Do you think it's like spitting into the wind for Call of Duty? Do you think it's just like a waste? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is like or do you think it's actually making some progress and making movement?
In my opinion, it's laughable.
Yeah.
Because with their new Modern Warfare 2 game, they're allowing proximity chat.
100%.
And that is going to bring the most toxicity out of every player that you ever saw or heard, I guess, because I mean, you can't really see people talking in Call of Duty, but you can definitely hear them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that proximity chat, that's going to be a cool feature. However, it is really going to bring out some toxicity, and people
100%.
are going to be violating that code of conduct with so easily. I mean, they will not even have to try.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll let Dallin go. Dallin. Anyway, a great point.
I was going to say, as I was scrolling through some of these articles, we were looking at Game Rant has one that they talked about how Call of Duty's banned over half a million toxic users, like as of September 13th, and I don't know if that's political, if they're really just people are having a bad experience. And I don't know how many people actually go on and leave going, that guy was toxic to me. I'm not coming back again. It's like, where you been? Is this your first time playing the game? This is how it's always been. You're going to get somebody yelling something at you, and it sounds like it's going to get worse with the proximity chat.
Yeah. Like smack talk and like just calling people out and ripping into people. That is like one of the core nostalgia aspects of Call of Duty. It's like
a fundamental.
Man, like, what's that?
Yeah.
It's a fundamental.
Oh yeah, like 100%. Like even today, I saw these pro streamers. They posted them literally at a cuss out war with the other players they're playing against. They're like, you're dogs. You're like, I have more kills than your entire team. You're absolute garbage. Get the F out of here. Like, what the F are you doing with your life? And like, these are the most popular streamers ever, Call of Duty partners. Like, and they're just violating this code of conduct, absolutely thrown out of the bus, because that is like part of the essence of Call of Duty. And whether you agree with it or not, that is Call of Duty. Like, if you're going to play Call of Duty, you better not go in thinking like, oh, Fortnite, I'm going to have fun with friends. Like, yeah, you'll have fun with friends, but it's not like everyone's cheerful. Like, these are people who've been playing for the last 2 decades who are, middle-aged men like us, but they have less standards than us, and they talk trash. And I'll be honest, I love good banter. Like, I love going back and forth with people. I love stirring the pot,
Oh, yes, you do.
Not as vulgar as them, but like, I'm all about that, This proximity chat, I'm gonna have so much fun with. I'm gonna have so much fun with this proximity chat. So,
and I mean, we've got friends too that like they have pretty short fuses, Ben, and I know you like to push their buttons. And
sure.
I live for that. It's why I play every weekend.
Yep. I agree. I just think it's so
makes
funny.
You feel real good.
Yeah. I think it's just so funny they came out with this like the month that like they're marketing their new Modern Warfare. It's almost like, all right, guys, we have a new game coming out. Just so you know, be nice. And everyone's like, screw that, man. Like, this is a new Call of Duty. We're going to go into town right now. We're going to rip into guys with our bullets and our words, So, I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry, Dallin.
It'd be empty if after multiplayer, they merge those chat lobbies together at the end just to hear some
Oh, dear.
15-year-old kid just go off about everybody's cheating and that's why they lost and they were all a bunch of campers and all this and that, and then just even while everybody else is silent, and then somebody else pipes in, he's like, hey, shut up,
Yeah,
that's just part of the that's why I paid for the game. To run into things like that is just like, oh, especially when you're on the winning team and you hear all that and you're like, oh, just keep complaining. This makes me feel so good.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Maybe that's evil, but
no, it makes me laugh, like in Halo, I will first kill of the game, I'll start teabagging a guy, and then he'll start teabagging me, and then my team will start teabagging their team's teabagging our team, and it just adds to like the intensity, the competitiveness, the funniness of the game. I think it's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny. I'll send you guys 2 streamers. Tim the Tapman posted. He's like Modern Warfare lobbies are back, baby. And it's just him going to town on these guys, just like ripping into it after the game. And then there's another guy, Sensor. He's another I'd say he's a pro streamer, but he's trying to actually go pro, like competitive wise. And he's always posting like lobbies where he's talking trash and guys are talking trash to him. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I think
with respect. Yeah, go ahead, Ethan.
I think with this new lobby proximity chat, teabagging is going to be on the exponential rise for sure. Just because you'll be able to do it and talk as you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be so
I think
bad.
when it goes both ways. I mean, at the end, I feel like the true gamers, the gentleman gamers, gentlemen as I define it, they all go, hey, GG, we were teabagging each other all game long. It's like, hey, I respect that you teabagged me back after I did that to you. I think
it's
you
like
get it. You get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fun and games, So, anyway, that's my curveball. I just thought it was funny that they released that like a week ago, and it's
it's a good curveball.
Yeah, kind of seems like they're out of whoever posts that's just like that's PR for the PC tribe, maybe for just for show, or maybe they're completely out of touch of what their average consumers like.
They have probably never played a game of Call of Duty.
Yeah,
for sure.
Someone's got to be breathing down their neck. I feel like it's, I don't know, you just, every big company's got some shareholder or something like that wants to push some kind of, well, they're not being mean to each other in there. We don't want any liabilities for someone, calling some 10-year-old some bad name on there and then they sue us. So don't, go ahead and ban 500,000 people. Just do it,
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I think you're right.
We'll make our point and we'll let the game continue as is.
Yep. I agree. That's probably it.
Yeah.
I kind of on that note, did you guys hear that this will never move forward, but someone tried to make the case that teabagging is sexual harassment? And like you could be charged for sexual harassment if you teabag someone. But I'm trying to find an article on it.
That's interesting.
Because they're playing a game.
They're playing a game. It's virtual. I mean, there's actually no physical touching of another human being.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, if we're gonna call teabagging sexual harassment, then should we call killing the other team murder? Because that's apples to apples, right? If we're gonna have that standard, right? Because there's actually no physical interaction. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when you need to take a step back and realize you're gaming and that's not the real world for a second. You got a little too far deep if you felt like you'd been sexually assaulted on Halo.
Yeah, it's like, all right, maybe it's not for you then,
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
This article says teabagging or tactical squatting.
I think that's going to be my new term for it now. Tactical
That
squatting.
is so funny. Tactical squatting. Why have I not called it that? Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Oh,
Oh wow.
I love that.
Anyway, hot take
Awesome.
of the day: teabagging, not sexual harassment.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what do you guys think? Is there anything else that we need to cover in our first episode today?
I just want to go over the Netflix topic.
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
let's go over that.
Yes, Netflix.
Start us off, Dylan.
Apparently, there's some idea that seems like Netflix and other shows, other platforms. Honestly, I feel like Apple Plus is doing this, or Apple TV, where they instead of releasing like they do with Stranger Things, they do this with Stranger Things at least, and a bunch of other ones where they release 10 episodes at once, and then you just binge it all over 2 days or one evening. And it seems like, and a lot of the platforms, Netflix included, seem to be moving towards like week-to-week releases, where you've got to wait a week till the next episode comes out, and then another week, and then like 9 months for the next season. But I think the anticipation that in the article they point out that the anticipation and bringing everybody together in a community sense is a good thing. Kind of communing over these shows. One I recently watched, not on Netflix, but Severance on Apple Plus. So good. Now
I've heard great things about Severance. I haven't watched it, but I've heard great things.
I recommend we use the VidAngel filter, which is like to filter out anything you don't want profanity. There's a lot of profanity, and it did blank out a lot of words. But super good show. Just one, and they released it week to week, so we went probably 8 weeks watching that. So I don't know. I think it's a good way for Netflix to go. I don't know. Do you guys like binging, or do you prefer you like the suspense of a week to week?
I love the suspense, honestly. As much as I want to be like, oh, I'm going to just blow through this really fast. But number one, I don't think it's healthy for individuals.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what Netflix and all these platforms are doing. I don't think they're doing it for like the benefit of the consumer. Like, oh, we got to help make sure our consumers are healthy. The longer that they go on the show, the longer you're a subscriber and the more revenue they're getting on a regular basis consistently. As soon as they pump out a show that only takes you a week to binge through, they lose subscribers at the end of that month, right? I like it because I can have discussions with my friends, my family. You get hyped for it. You like the anticipation's there. And then when you finally watch it, it's like, did you watch it yet? No, I haven't watched it yet. It's like, shut up. Don't say anything, And then when they finally watch it, you have like discussions for like the next week. You're like, what do you think is going to happen? And then you like think about it at work. You think about it the next day. And you're like, man, what's going to happen? I love it. I think that's how The Mandalorian was. I love The Mandalorian that way. It was so good. Yeah. And it just brings back kind of a nostalgia feeling when I was a kid, because when we were kids, that's how it was. We had to wait. Every week, and I love that. So I personally love it, even if I have to like pay 2 months instead of 1 month for like a show, or 3 months for a show. I like it. I think it's really good. That's just personally for me. I think it's a win-win for everyone.
I kind of agree with it. The one thing that I don't agree with is Netflix's intent, because as you both said, it's a way for Netflix to have more money. I mean, Netflix, as of late, has been losing a lot of their subscriber base because they just haven't had all around good enough content to keep people there. And now they're competing with Disney Plus, which has amazing content because they've got every Disney thing under the sun. And
Fox,
they're also
Star Wars.
They're competing with Hulu and HBO Max.
Hulu's Disney as well.
Yeah. And
that's right.
So I mean, they've got a lot of competition now, and so they're trying to do things to make money. And I think this is the reason that they're doing it, is just to make that money. However, as a consumer, I do appreciate that anticipation phase. However, I will say, like when I was younger watching 24, I always hated leaving on a cliffhanger every single week. And so now that I can binge watch 24 without that cliffhanger, it's like, okay, that's good. So sometimes I do like just being able to binge through it.
Yeah,
That's true.
I wonder if the quality of the content, because it hasn't been good, because when you binge, you notice there's like sometimes like 2 or 3 episodes, you're like, wow, these are all fillers. Can you imagine those coming out week to week? I think my anticipation to die off. I'd be like, man, nothing is happening. Why don't move this along?
Yeah.
But binging it, you stream through it a little quicker, and maybe that's the reason why they haven't. Maybe they've realized we need to up the quality, and it'll be worth it for us because we can then go week to week. I always think like merch too. You've got to be able to like hype it up. Just think if someone's buying some Stranger Things, and they're like, let's all get together and watch Stranger Things, and they're like, I'm gonna wear my t-shirt, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna bring the Stranger Things snacks or whatever.
Yeah.
If that was strung out over 2-3 months, man, I feel like you'd sell so much more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you gotta have good quality. Yeah.
That is probably the reason of the demise for the Halo series, is that it wasn't a bingeable series because we got one episode and it was terrible. And the next episode was also terrible.
Yeah. Dude, I don't even want to talk about that series. It's just
That was such a disappointment.
they re-upped for season 2. They just started filming. They got the
Really?
green light for filming for season 2. Yeah. And all the comments on the post on Instagram was like, how'd you guys get the budget approved for this? Like, how'd this get the green light? Like, you guys serious? Did you not know what the audience reaction was? Like, everyone was bagging on it. Yeah.
I mean,
Tactical squatting.
yes.
It's not bagging. That's
Everyone was
politically
tactical
incorrect now.
squatting on it. That's true. Yeah, good point. Good reminder. No, but
Okay.
that's a really good point, though. Go ahead. I don't know, Dallin, if you want to just put a stamp on it or something, but yeah.
Sure. I think they've got to pick up their quality if they do move these week to week episodes. They've got to come out big for them, but it's kind of slowly dying off. I think this last season was it's fine, but it's kind of just duplicates of the ones before. But I agree.
Really?
I think they've got to figure out good quality if they're going to go week to week, because that works, but only if you've got a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. See what happens.
They need to hire better writers. All righty. Well, thanks to everyone for sticking around with our Bed Tech Show first episode. Planning on doing this every week. We'll come up with some good stories for us to talk about, and from there we'll continue to share our opinions from the average consumer view. Until then, everyone have a wonderful evening and stay classy.
Sleep well in your beds.
Yes.
we
We
got to come up with some kind of phrase, like a play on words with like beds, or whatever it is.
Yes.
I don't know.
Guess sound off in the comments if you have a good idea.